Hi, I'm Jake, and welcome back to another episode of Jake Bakes. A few years ago, I was in the Bahamas on vacation and had this amazingly delicious cake down there that's called a rum cake. The big brand down there is Tortuga. And unfortunately, you can't find them really a whole lot of places here in the States. So, fortunately for you, I found a really great recipe that I've altered from King Arthur's flour, and it's a coconut Caribbean rum cake. It is absolutely divine. It's so rich and buttery and filled with rum, which is one of my favorite things. So if you're ready, grab your mix stick, your whisk, and everything else you need and meet me in the kitchen, and let's get started. You're gonna start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 cups of sugar, granulated, 1/2 cup of unsalted butter, 4 large eggs, 1/2 cup of instant vanilla pudding mix, 1/2 teaspoon of butter rum flavoring, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of coconut flavoring, 2 teaspoons of vanilla flavoring, 1/2 cup of oil, just a pinch of salt, or roughly about a teaspoon, and 1/2 cup of milk. The first thing we're gonna wanna do is grab 1/2 cup of unsalted butter, which I like to just break up with my hands because it's gonna be a lot easier to mix that way. And then you're gonna use 1.5 cups of granulated sugar. Here, I'm not using white sugar, but you can definitely use that. I just grabbed something at the grocery store that was granulated sugar. So you can use white sugar, same thing. So I'm just gonna get this so that the butter is a little bit broken up and mixed in a little bit with the sugar. It's much easier to do this with a stand mixer, but I didn't have a stand mixer for a really long time, but baking was around before stand mixers were. And once that's now like creamed together and it's all one homogeneous texture, we're gonna add our eggs, 4 large eggs. I'm gonna mix that in, get these broken up. So once that's good, I'm gonna go ahead and add in the flour. 2 cups of all-purpose flour. The nicest thing about this recipe is that it's basically a dump and go. There's no special techniques to it, there's no secrets. Put it all together and bake it off. All right, so I'm adding the milk, 1/2 cup of whole milk. I like the fat to the whole milk. I think it adds a better flavor and consistency. All right, then I'm gonna add the 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. And just scrape down the sides of your bowl just in case you're getting any sort of flour mixture built up on the side. You're looking for a smooth batter, but if it has a couple lumps, that's okay. Lumps are what makes things beautiful. If I didn't have a couple lumps, I wouldn't be as beautiful as I am today. Now to this, I'm gonna add my baking powder. 2 teaspoons of baking powder, that'll be good. And the pastry cream, or the instant vanilla pudding. I just bought 2 packages, just measured it out. About 1 of the 3-ounce packages comes out to 1/2 cup of powder. Don't know how that works, but it works. So mix this in. This is when it starts to smell so good. And once this is mixed in, you're just gonna go ahead and get a different mixing stick. Does this work? No, it's broken. So now that you've broken your mixing stick, or whisk as the culinarians call it, you're gonna add your salt, just about a pinch. I'm actually gonna add a couple of pinches in there because this is a pretty sweet cake. The salt helps to balance out all of those sweet flavors and actually helps to make it a little bit sweeter. So I'm using a spatula now. Also, it's good to use a spatula at this point because of the fact that you don't want to overwork the batter and develop some of that gluten that we like in bread. We want it to be nice and tender. Now all the fun part comes, which is adding the vanilla extract. So I am adding 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of coconut flavoring or extract, whichever you can find. And then the secret ingredient of butter rum flavoring, or in this case, we're using just butter flavoring, which is gonna give us a little slightly different flavor, but it helps to increase that really rich, decadently delicious flavor. Oh, it smells like summer. All right, so once those are in, get to add the best part, which is the namesake of this cake, the rum. So half a cup of that. And add that right in. And this you're gonna wanna be gentle with. The fluid, the alcohol is gonna be pretty light on top of that batter, so you don't wanna splash it around and get it everywhere, or maybe you do. So this is good. This is about the consistency you want, just like that pancake batter. It's really perfect. All right, so let's get that pan out and we can get this thing into the oven. Alrighty, so to prepare the bundt pan, what I'm gonna do is spray it with some nonstick cooking spray. You wanna make sure to get, because these are bundt pans, they have a lot of nooks and crannies, so you're gonna want to make sure you get that really well greased up. And then I'm just using some almond flour, the same almond flour we used in our poached pear tart that I'm just reusing again, so it's a nice little, another addition that you can use. This will toast up super, super nicely around the cake, and you'll be able to taste that. It helps it not stick to the sides when it gets really sticky from all that rum soaking syrup. So then I'm gonna sort of bang it around, make sure all the sides and nooks and crannies get coated. And you can see it's starting to stick to all the sides, which is good. I'm just gonna add more in. So now we get to set our oven to 325. Now it's just gonna pour this in super nicely. Alrighty, so you're gonna come up to about halfway. We can go ahead and put this in the oven. Bake this off for about 50 to 55 minutes. It's gonna get really nice and golden, and then we'll be all set to do the rum soaking syrup. Alrighty, so while that is in there baking and getting all crispy deliciousness, we're gonna go ahead and make our rum soaking syrup. So to a pan, you're gonna add a half a cup of unsalted butter. Just right in there, and you're gonna get that melted down first. Make sure this is on. Heat sometimes helps to melt butter. While this is melting, we're gonna go ahead and grab a cup of granulated sugar here, a quarter cup of water, just a small like teaspoon of vanilla. We want a splash of it essentially just right at the end, and then another half cup of coconut rum. So while this is melting, this looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and add the sugar in as well. Once that sugar's in, you need to be careful because if you leave sugar on there just right on its own, it can start to burn. So what you want to do is make sure that you're right here with it, and while your butter's melting, you're getting all of that stirred in together, and it starts to caramelize just a little bit. And once this starts to get nice and coated and melted down, add just the quarter cup of water. Now that'll help dissolve some of that sugar in there too. And then finally, a half cup of that coconut rum. We're gonna leave the vanilla out to the very end because we want that to be the flavor that really comes through. So we're gonna bring this up to a nice steady boil and then reduce it down with a simmer. You're gonna let it simmer for about 5 to 8 minutes. You just want it to thicken up so it becomes almost the consistency of maple syrup, but not nearly as thick. Alrighty, so now we've got our syrup. It's nicely reduced just a little bit, lots of bubbles, which is good. It's almost the beginning stages of making candy. Now we can go ahead and add in our flavoring. And I forgot to say too, I'm gonna add some coconut flavoring in it as well, just to reinforce all of those really delicious flavors. So we've got about a teaspoon of this, which is the vanilla extract. And then I'm gonna grab the coconut extract as well, and add a teaspoon of this. So we really wanna get that coconut flavor to just come through really nicely. Once this is stirred, we get to just wait for our cake, which is about to finish up. Alrighty, let's check our cake. Alrighty, so now it's cooled off for just about 5 to 10 minutes, just enough to where I can actually touch it and it's not gonna burn me or anything like that. What we're gonna wanna do is take a sharp skewer thing. I'm gonna use a meat thermometer because that's what I have lying around the house. We're gonna use our rum soaking syrup and just soak this entire cake. We're gonna wanna use this to just poke holes all around it. So I'm just poking holes probably an inch or two apart. Now we've got plenty of holes in it. You're going to add about a quarter to a third of the soaking syrup in first and let that soak in. Oh my gosh, this looks amazing. So don't be afraid if you're like, there's too much liquid, it's not gonna take it in. Don't worry. This cake is thirsty, like mama. So you're gonna want to go ahead and poke more holes too. I think this helps. You can actually see the fluid start to go down in there too. Here will help. And see, you can already tell it's soaking up more and more and more. So we just got a little bit left before I put this in the fridge to let soak all of this in overnight. So we're gonna cover this with plastic film, get it in the fridge, leave it overnight, and it's gonna be absolutely perfect in the morning. Okay, so now it's been sitting overnight. So what I'm gonna do is loosen up the edges of the cake first, with just a little bit going through like this. You can see the cake's holding together really nicely. That is a good sign. Alrighty, so now I'm gonna take a cake stand and turn this over on top. Alrighty, now for the nice reveal. Voila! There it is. You can see all the nice toasted almond on it. It smells amazing. Let's see what this looks like inside. Cuts like butter. Man. Oh my gosh. Wow. That is just like the rum cake I had when I was in the Bahamas. So good. And there you have it, a beautiful Caribbean rum cake directly from the Bahamas into your kitchen. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and check out all of the other videos on our channel. I'll see you here next time on Jake Bakes.
Perfect.
For real though?
I'm gonna cut.
Y'all get some of that.